Hi,
Hey, Sophie. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Snark Bait. I'm Christy.
I'm Sophie, and today we have a highly requested episode. We are covering Andy Cohen. I am so excited for this one. I feel like for a lot of the Bravo lovers out there, this is one of our Roman empires. There's definitely a lot to say about Andrew. Before we get into that, Christy, how you doing?
You guys, I was just talking to Sophie off mic, and if you guys follow us on Instagram at Snark Bait Pod, Henry Brooks and I were talking shop last night. We were, going over things in the business. We literally like cold called my CPA. We called the IRS. And Sophie, the second she goes, Henry, Christy needs to talk to you. Henry comes up. She's like, well, that about does it for me. See you later. She
You
walks
guys,
out of
when
the
I
room.
tell you, we had recorded Dark Energy Tuesday. It was a Friday night, mind you.
Yeah.
And Christy and Henry were talking for 2 hours, talking shop. They called the IRS, they called Christy's accountant. And I was doing whatever I could to avoid that conversation. I was like, Pam, I was like, my mother-in-law needs my help with dinner downstairs. I gotta go. Yeah, I
It
was
was
like, you
so
guys got it under control.
it was so funny. The second Henry walked in, Sophie goes, well, see you guys later. And she walks out, and then I keep seeing her walk the halls, peeking her head in, being like, what's going on? And we were on the phone with the IRS. I had the phone up to the mic so Henry could hear. And I hear Henry like go on my like on mute. And he's turning around to Sophie, explaining to her, well, sounds good. See you later.
I was like, okay then. Anyway, I gotta set the table.
So funny. And then I was texting Sophie and Henry like a couple things. Henry and I are going back and forth. Sophie, just whatever you guys
Silent.
got it handled, right?
They got it. They're talking about like we're talking about getting a business card, and
Yeah.
Christy's like, I think we should get Chase, and Henry's like, but the Amex perks. I'm like, whatever you guys say, whatever you
No, I
say.
love it.
And
I love
also,
it.
like Christy and Henry were talking about how the IRS has like amazing customer service, and picked up the phone right away. I was like, that's because no one wants to fucking call the IRS. Those customer service agents are sitting around waiting,
No,
waiting.
literally.
Christy's the only one that calls them.
Yep. Sophie, if you guys don't remember when we were at the West Hollywood edition, Sophie goes, hey, forgot my earplugs. I'm fucked. I need a razor. I need earplugs. I need an eye mask. I go, well, she goes, can we head over to CVS in a second? I go, dude, just call the front desk. She goes, oh, you can do that. Yep.
For
Yep.
every little thing, we were like, we need a steamer. We need like whatever it
Clothing
was.
rack.
Christy would be on the phone before the word steamer would escape my lips. I was like, you're calling them again? Again?
Again.
That's her with the IRS. It's like, you're calling them again.
Yes. No, but the second we got off the phone, I was like, I looked at Henry, I go, that was easy. He goes, that was excellent customer service. I was like, it really was.
Yeah, Henry confirmed. He was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, they were so nice. They picked up right away. I was like, that's because no one calls them. Who is calling the IRS customer service? Like, who goes out of their way on a Friday night?
No, I know. You guys, yesterday was such a booked and busy and
It was
productive day.
productive. It was productive for Christy.
Oh, I feel like I got so many things. I have a thing on my to-do list, checked off most
Wow.
of them. So, and here we are. There's nowhere else I would rather be. Sophie cracks me up. Like we really do balance each other out just
My favorite
perfectly.
thing. So we just like have so many. I feel like after like the 2 week break that we took over the holidays, like there obviously is a lot of housekeeping. There's a lot to do and
Yep.
catch up on. And me being the type B ADHD girly, I'm like, oh, I'll do it later. Christy is like, I'm doing this right now.
I was like, okay, just filled out the Google form. There you go. You're doing it now? Oh, I thought we were
I
doing it
was like,
after the
right.
recording.
I was like, right now.
She was like, the sunlight's gonna stop. If you don't
Oh
mind, we
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
get it,
You guys,
go
I don't have
quick.
my, I'm at my in-laws, so I don't have my ring light. And so I'm using like the sunlight and a lamp as my ring light. And I was like, Chrissy, the sun's gonna go down. Like, stop it with the little tasks. We can do them later. And for me, later is in like 3 weeks.
Like it's already done. Linked
Yeah,
it.
she's like, I'm just gonna do it now. I'm like, now.
If you
My
guys
God.
follow us on social media, Sophie posted the funniest ins and outs of 2026, and we had a lot of good feedback. I think our
Yeah,
community feels like they found their community.
they get us and we get you guys. For example, cottage cheese in for 2026.
Out, buttery soft. You guys know how we feel about it.
Out. The caption, last wedding before ours.
I literally hate it.
We like actually got a private DM from someone being like, thank you so much for calling that out. I think it's so rude when people use that caption. I'm like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And she said, I just had my wedding and no one even said it, but hearing those words are incredibly triggering.
It's triggering.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Also, if you listen to DET this week, you know that both of us are recovering. I'm like still a little bit sick. So that's why I might sound a little, I don't know, off today. Christy's sister's in town, her brother-in-law, her niece. Instead of spending time with her family, she was calling the IRS last night. Spend time with your family, Christy.
What's going on in here? Oh, looks like you guys got it under control. See you later.
No, like I wish we were exaggerating.
I kept seeing Sophie said just pop in. Hey, what are you guys talking about? Credit card? See you later. Shut the
Bye.
door.
No, literally our group chat with the three of us, I'm like, yeah, sure. Amex, Chase, makes no difference to me. You guys are like doing like your like Excel spreadsheet with like the pros and cons
Yeah.
and the points and the perks. I'm
Yeah.
like,
You let
whatever
me
you
know.
say, you let me know. Oh
No,
my
I love
God.
it. Sophie lets me do my thing. She lets me take creative control for like what I think is best, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this
I
is why
let
we
her
work
cook.
well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. I was talking about this. I can't remember. It was either my sister-in-law or someone that I was with over the holidays. And everyone is always so fascinated by like our story because it's not like we knew each other in real life.
Yeah.
We literally just knew each other from the internet. And then we figured out that we have good chemistry. There's a spark here. And then also that we just balance each other out so well in terms of like being business partners because Christy's back of house type
Mm-hmm.
A, I am front of house type B, and it
Mm-hmm.
just works perfectly. Like we spread the load completely evenly and
Yes.
perfectly in such
Yes.
different ways.
Yes, yes. And it's like, yeah, we complement one another perfectly. And that's so funny that you say people are always shocked when they're like, how did you meet your
hmm
co-host? And I'm like, well, I didn't meet her prior to us starting the show. Now we're so close. We talk every single day. But people who aren't online, they're like, what do you mean you met her on the internet? That doesn't make sense to me.
Wait, and people are like, oh my God, like Christy wasn't even at Sophie's wedding. It's like we knew each other for 5 minutes when I got married. Now it's like my biggest regret that Christy wasn't there, but like
No.
maybe for my second wedding.
It's so
Maybe for
chic to be divorced. You know what I
maybe
mean?
for and Henry's still like our business manager.
Maybe, maybe for your vow renewals, a la like, but
Yeah.
sometimes that's always the
Vicky
kiss of death.
Gunvalson.
Vicky
Yeah.
Gunvalson or Shannon Bedore.
Vicky Gunvalson and Dawn. Which, speaking of Vicky Gunvalson, Shannon Medore, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's please.
So, we all know who Andy Cohen is. He is the face of Bravo. I think he is indispensable. And we will walk through some of his scandals and lawsuits and things that he has been accused of. And I'm just going to say, I love Andy. I know that there have been some sticky situations. He's been accused of some unsavory things. From what I see on, Watch What Happens Live, Housewives reunions, I don't listen to Radio Andy, but I know a lot of people do. And he always, gives good behind the scenes info. He is Bravo. Bravo is Andy. Like they are completely intrinsically intertwined.
Yes.
So I can see why, and we will talk about it, why Bravo may or may not cover up for him when it comes to some of his scandals and some of the things he's been accused of. What
I,
are
I just thought
your top line? Yeah.
I just thought of something. Chris Harrison is to The Bachelor as Andy Cohen is to Bravo. And when Chris Harrison was ousted from the franchise, it felt like the series went downhill. And I don't think it's exclusively because of Chris Harrison leaving. There was a multitude of things that were happening in that franchise that caused it to go downhill. But what I'm meaning to say is, do you think if, you know, by an act of God, Andy Cohen was ousted from Bravo, do you think the shows under the Bravo network would continue to have such success? Because to your point, he really is synonymous with Bravo. He is Bravo. Bravo is Andy Cohen. Even though he may not have his hand in every single cookie jar, we think of Andy Cohen. So do you think like the success of Bravo is largely attributable to Andy Cohen? And
That
would
is
it survive without him?
that's an interesting question. I think with The Bachelor and Chris Harrison, obviously he was replaced and the show went downhill for I think other reasons. I think Jesse
Correct.
Palmer, I actually prefer Jesse Palmer as a host. I think if, something crazy happened and Andy left the network or retired or whatever it may be, would Bravo and the Housewives franchise still exist without him? Probably. I don't think that Bravo wants that to happen anytime soon. I think that his replacement would have to be like just the best replacement ever
Yeah.
because there are big shoes to fill. I think, I've seen like Danny Pellegrino thrown out there. I've seen Ben and Ronnie. I'm huge fans. You guys know we love Ben and Ronnie
Love.
from Watch What Crappens. I think Ben and Ronnie would be amazing. I mean, I don't want to say replacements, but I could see them filling that role. I've heard like Z-Way. There are so many names that have been thrown around as, when that time comes because Andy is, I mean, he's not like old. He's 57.
But he could
Uh
retire at any time and not have
at
to work another day in his
Oh,
life.
absolutely. At some point, he will want to retire. I'm sure he works really hard. I mean, he's doing Radio Andy by day, Watch What Happens Live by night.
Yeah.
He is just go, go, go all the time. Like he's up early every single morning. He's also a single dad. And obviously, I know he has help, but yeah, he has a lot going on. So at some point, I'm sure he will, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, as for now, I think that he is just irreplaceable,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And I think the
Yes.
network realizes that. So, as for Andy's background, he was born June 2nd, 1968, in St. Louis, Missouri. And him being a Gemini tracks. I didn't realize that he was a Gemini, but like that tracks for him. So he's 57 years old. His parents are Evelyn and Lou Cohen. They still live in Clayton, which is a suburb of St. Louis. His little sister is named Emily Rosenfield, and he grew up Jewish, like a lot of families in that area of St. Louis. It's a very Jewish area. And growing up, he had a love for pop culture and soap operas, which is funny because I feel like it's foreshadowing his creation of our modern day soap opera, Real Housewives. When he was a teen journalism student, he arranged his first celebrity interview with soap star Susan Lucci. He wrote her fan letters after being obsessed with All My Children. They had lunch and from there became lifelong friends. How
That's
cute is that?
so cute. Yeah.
I know. His high school nickname was Most Talkative, which ends up being the title of his future production company and one of his memoirs. And it's so funny how like high school nicknames slash superlatives are often like foreshadowing. I.e., Christy and I both being named biggest gossips at our high school.
I know that was such a funny moment when we both realized we were both named that superlative.
So funny. So he graduated high school in 86 and ended up going to Boston University with a BS and graduated with a BS in broadcast journalism. He also wrote for the BU student newspaper. And he came out as gay during his college years to family and friends. And his mother's immediate response was a joking sigh of relief that she probably would have hated your wife anyway. And also, his mom, Evelyn, this spurred her to become involved in HIV/AIDS charity work in the late 80s. So he had like a great support system. His family was very supportive. And yeah.
I have a question. So there was when I used to be a listener of the Toast, Claudia and Jackie would always criticize Andy for never wanting to really share his Jewish heritage. I feel like he doesn't really talk
Oh,
about it. They're always like, I remember they would just be like, why does he always hide behind like being Jewish? He doesn't want to tell anyone he's Jewish. I'm like, well, I think it's
I never get that vibe. Watch What Happens Live literally has a Mazel of the Day segment. Like it's very, he always has a menorah during the holidays. Like he is very, I know that those are very like, whitewashed
sure.
Jewish uh symbols, but I think that he generally is very he posts on social media. I mean, I followed him for forever on social media. He definitely posts about anti-Semitism and he gets backlash for it.
Yeah, right.
He gets backlash for posting about anti-Semitism and he does it anyway. I think that he has been very open about, I mean, his name's Cohen.
Right.
Like, I think that he has never once hid his Judaism or his love of Judaism. I've never gotten that vibe. That's really interesting. Like, what do they want him to do?
Yeah, they definitely held his feet to the fire. I remember this was
So
years ago,
interesting.
but when I used to be a toaster, I remember them always criticizing him for it.
I've never gotten that vibe. I've
Yeah.
actually really appreciated how outwardly Jewish he is. Like
Oh, okay. Well,
having that
maybe, yeah.
representation. Yeah, that's so interesting. I wonder like what exactly they expect from him for him to be doing like the Shema, like do a prayer on Watch What Happens Live. Like obviously he's not going to do that. Like I don't
Right.
know. Very interesting. So let's talk about his career because obviously he is such a freaking success story coming from, this little Jewish kid in St. Louis to being the biggest face in reality television today. So in the 90s, he interned at CBS News with fellow intern Julie Chen, actually. And he ended up spending a decade there, eventually becoming senior producer. He worked on shows like The Early Show, 48 Hours, CBS This Morning. And he actually credits his time at 48 Hours for teaching him how to, quote unquote, let the reality tell the story and how to find the wink in a serious situation, which I think is really interesting.
I love that
And
show, by the way. That was my favorite show growing up.
oh,
48.
really? That's
Yeah,
so funny.
I
I don't
loved
think I
it.
ever watched it.
Oh, I loved it.
So in the year 2000, he went to cable entertainment, a production company called Trio, or a production channel owned by Barry Diller. And he joined, this was under NBC Universal, and this is when he started developing original programming. So he ended up moving over to Bravo and became Bravo's VP of original programming. And so he was a high level exec at Bravo. And he was responsible for developing content, finding new show concepts, scouting talent, giving notes on early cuts of episodes, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, he ended up developing the Real Housewives franchise, which we will get to in just a moment. But he oversaw other shows like Project Runway. This was such a good era of Bravo TV pre Housewives.
Yeah.
I was destined to obviously love the Housewives and Vanderpump Rules and all of the other Bravo reality program because I was there when it was Project Runway, Top Chef, Queer Eye, Millionaire Matchmaker. Did you watch those shows?
Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. I remember kind of dabbling in that show when it first came out. But honestly, my whole like entry point into Bravo wasn't until the Housewives and much later in my life. My mom and my sister were obsessed with Real Housewives. I feel like before it was even cool to be obsessed with it. But
You're
no, I
also
was a late
like
bloomer.
you're also from Orange County, which is obviously the ground zero for Real Housewives.
Yes,
Like I feel
yes.
like that would be like its own like say, you guys know I'm from Cincinnati originally. Real Houses of Cincinnati, I'd be like, what do you mean? Like that
Yeah.
would immediately spark my interest, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't into it, seeing as it was in my town, but I do remember having like random connections with Gina Keogh's sons.
Yeah.
But where they ended up filming the first season and many seasons thereafter in Real Housewives was in this community in South Orange County called Coto de Caza. And it's a very nice, like upscale neighborhood. But when I think of like Orange County affluence and wealth, I think of Newport. Like I don't, so I was always like fascinated by the fact that they chose Coto in South Orange County versus Newport.
Kodo Insurance.
Yeah, Coto
Wait,
Insurance.
wait, is Kodo like an area?
Yeah, so it's actually yes, it's
Oh my God,
it.
I literally thought Kodo was just the name of the insurance company.
No, 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 no. It's an area in Orange County, and it's
Oh my
kind
God,
of,
that's so funny.
yeah, like I would say the difference between Newport, which is where you think of like selling the OC, it's heavy on like drinking and partying. It's almost kind of like a Palm Beach of California, whereas Kodo is more family oriented, gated communities. And I think maybe that's why they decided to choose Kodo because it had that gated community element, whereas Newport like doesn't have that as much.
Yeah, and that was a big part of it was behind the gates. We're going to take
Yes,
you behind the gates.
yes.
So Queer Eye was already successful when Andy joined, but he became the executive in charge of the show, helping manage its peak. And he credits the OG Queer Eye. And this is a lot of this is from literally his own words from his multiple memoirs. He credits the OG Queer Eye for teaching him the quote unquote Bravo formula, like curating an ensemble of personalities to Housewives franchise. So, like, I feel like the original Queer Eye, similarly to the reboot of Queer Eye, which I stopped watching since it came out that JVN is actually like a demon.
Yes,
And
a
there are a
devil.
lot of
Yeah.
like, and same with like Tan. Like, I just got the ick after that expose of how they treated Bobby, which we could probably do a whole episode on all of that
Oh my God.
drama.
Yes.
So I stopped watching. I also was like, okay, that's enough. Like, there were just so many seasons in a row. I was like, okay, we get it. But I loved the reboot and I loved the original. But they all had just these personalities that were so different but complemented each other so well, which I think is just that's the formula for a really successful Real Housewives franchise. And he sharpened, hit shows like Project Runway and Top Chef, which later made them Emmy winners.
Top
That
Chef, incredible. Like one of
Top
the
Chef
best reality competition shows out there.
to this day, I don't keep up with Project Runway anymore. And I know that it's like moved around to different networks. It's back on Bravo, I believe, and it obviously has different judges and different hosts. But that OG Project Runway, I was obsessed with. Like Christian Siriano. It's so crazy how Christian Siriano, like, and same with Top Chef. I think the difference, like, you guys know that we did our America's Next Top Model Tyra Banks episode, and there wasn't really one superstar that came out of that show, really. I mean, like Winnie Harlow, you could argue, like, there were a few,
Yeah.
but Top Chef and Project Runway created real
Oh,
Michelin star
yes.
chefs and real fashion designers.
Right. Right.
Uh,
It is the most coveted, like inaccessible type of show because it only
yeah,
selects, handpicks the greats.
truly talented
Yes.
people, truly. This episode of Snarkbait is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, artisanal pastries, and fresh pastas. Plus, all items conveniently bake in 25 minutes or less. Unlike so many store-bought options, Wild Grain uses simple ingredients you can actually pronounce and a slow fermentation process that can be easier on your belly and richer in nutrients and antioxidants. There's no preservatives, no shortcuts. Plus, their boxes are fully customizable. In addition to their variety box, they have a gluten-free box, vegan box, and a new protein box. I loved every single thing I received in my first box, and so did Henry, from frozen chocolate croissants, classic croissants, and chocolate chip cookie dough that was so easy to bake and so delicious. Literally, you just throw them in the freezer, then bake them when you're ready, to incredible sourdough and rosemary focaccia that we buttered right up with the fresh butter they sent with it too, mind you. Wild grain has made our life more delicious and easier in so many ways. It literally tasted like I was up all night kneading dough and churning butter. I'm not kidding. It was so fresh. I'm telling you, the chocolate chip cookies were like the best we've ever had, not exaggerating. And fresh chocolate croissants or pain au chocolat, depending on who you ask, were such a crowd pleaser when we had friends over for brunch. There's nothing like having an artisan bakery in your freezer to chase away the winter chill. Now is the time to stay in and enjoy comforting homemade meals with Wild Grain. I highly recommend giving Wild Grain a try. Right now, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off your first box, plus free croissants for life when you go to wildgrain.com/snark to start your subscription today. That's $30 off your first box and free croissants for life when you visit wildgrain.com/snark. Or you can use promo code SNARK at checkout. You guys, I don't think I've ever been more excited about a sponsor. As you all know by now, neither of us are the best cooks. Part of that for me is that I hate how long cleanup can take. But that's why I'm obsessed with Caraway and now making it my 2026 resolution to cook more at home with my new Caraway cookware set.
I've heard such good things about Caraway pots and pans. They're non-toxic, easy to wash, high quality, and they have over 100,000 five-star reviews. So many of my friends say they prefer Caraway over that other popular cookware, you know the one. But for real, guys, my brother-in-law and sister used it the entire holiday break, and they said, and I quote, "What a pleasure it was to cook with Caraway." They said that the best part was how fast and easy it was to clean up. They already bought their own set.
Wow. And that's an endorsement that I would want. And honestly, you guys, like, I understand the hype. I love knowing every one of their items is made with non toxic coating, free from forever chemicals, third party tested, and they're just amazing to use and make cleanup so much easier. So, 2026 chef status, here I come.
Caraway's cookware set is a favorite for a reason, and it can save you up to $190 versus buying the items individually. Plus, if you visit carawayhome.com/snark, you can take an additional 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners, so visit carawayhome.com/snark or use the code SNARK at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic kitchenware made modern.
So let's get into the creation of Real Housewives. And I feel like this deserves its own episode, but let's just go over some top line fun facts into how Andy created the empire that exists today. So, around 2004, Desperate Housewives was huge. And you were a Desperate Housewives watcher, right?
Fucking love
Yeah.
that show. Did you watch it? I forget.
I watched the early seasons, then I fell off at one point, but I haven't rewatched in so long. And I feel like I've been like meaning to do a rewatch
So
from the
good.
beginning because I
Yeah.
think it's still on Netflix. Um, and Scott Dunlap brought Andy Cohen a video of his Orange County neighbors. He was kind of an ad guy at the time. He had a big idea to bring Desperate Housewives to real life. Honestly, brilliant.
Yeah.
And Andy said, there was no better place for it than Orange County. The women were bored and rich. Their hair was big and blonde. Their boobs were bigger. One woman, Vicky Gunvalson, said, even had a grotto in her backyard.
Playboy Mansion-esque, total Playboy Mansion.
Total, like her
Yes.
backyard, underrated. Scott's idea was maybe a little less grounded in reality. We wanted it to be a docu-series about these women and their friendships. The original project was titled Behind the Gates. Early footage focused on the children and the families, but Andy realized the gold was in the wives and their shifting friendships and lifestyle competition. And that's such a big part of Housewives, right? Is keeping up with the Joneses. They're all trying to keep up with each other and compete with each other.
And that's why so many of them end up getting indicted for fraud, whatever it
Yep.
is, just to keep up with the Joneses. And
Yes.
I have to give credit to Troy McGeady of Beyond the Blinds. He brought up something in one of their pop culture kikis that I was like, oh, that's really interesting. He said, and I didn't watch the early seasons of OC, so this is what he told me or said on the show. He's like, the beginning of the show was more focused on like what Scott Dunlap wanted. He just wanted like women and their friendships and their every day to day like fabulous lives. And it was actually Tamra that brought it to the next level when it came to the cattiness and the
The
fighting
drama.
and the airing out the dirty laundry as it pertained to Gretchen Rossi. When Naked Wasted came out, like that's when they realized, oh, the stakes are now higher. We're bringing drama. We're bringing like tea, family dynamics. People angry and pissing off each other, like this is where the money's at, and that's when the show formula kind of switched.
That's actually such a good point.
Yes,
Because the first season of OC, if you guys recall or have done a rewatch recently, it was more like a documentary. There were no taglines yet, no like big group scenes. It was more of a study of the bored and rich. And it's so funny to see, to really think about how it's evolved over the past 20 years. Now it's glam. You have the orchestrated group scenes. Like there was something so magical about those early seasons because they didn't know what this was yet. They weren't
right.
trying to create drama or pander to the audience. They really just were being themselves. And now, obviously, it's so different with social media and the fan reactions. I mean, the Bravo fan base is crazy and huge. But it was truly so different than what it has evolved into. And there was like an aha moment when Andy realized that he could replicate the show's formula in different cities. So Bravo was actually developing a show called Manhattan Moms. And Andy saw the footage and realized it fit the Real Houses of Orange County mold
Wow.
perfectly. He rebranded it as the Real Houses of New York City in 2008, establishing the Real Housewives of X naming convention. I remember watching OC and New York in high school.
New York is probably the best franchise of all the Real Housewives in its heyday. When it
Yep.
was like, I think the time when it was Bethany, Lou, Carol, Sonia Rita, Luann, like that was the best part of the Real Housewives franchise. I don't think anything could top like those seasons, season 6, 7, 8 of New
Yep.
York. Oh my God, iconic. I have chills.
Yeah, iconic. So it was actually supposed to be a docu-series looking at the I love the word docu-series they keep using because it's like we don't think about these shows as being docu-series at all. But but again, it's like they were creating something completely new. They didn't know what this was yet. So it was supposed to be a docuseries looking at the competitive world of private schools and parenting in elite New York City. And casting actually found Jill Zarin. And she was the connector. So she introduced them to Ramona, Luann, etc. She was like the unofficial casting director who had these real life friends who production realized were, reality TV gold. But Andy also needed disruptors on the cast. Like, who was not in this group? Enter Bethany and Alex. Bethany was a runner up on The Apprentice Martha Stewart, which I actually didn't know
I
until
didn't know
research
that
for this
either.
episode.
Yeah.
And Andy knew she'd be kind of like the voice of the viewers because she was the underdog, And she wasn't a mom or a wife, right? So, like, it was
Right.
supposed to be Real Housewives, but Andy was like, no, we need her to be on the show. And Alex and Simon were found via a casting call,
Oh my
which is
God.
so on brand for them, representing awkward social climbers
While you're in Manhattan being mean, I'm in Brooklyn. What did she say to Jill?
trying to survive.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to survive in
While
this
you're being
economy.
while you're being a mean girl in high school, I'm in Brooklyn trying to survive in this economy.
Yeah, yeah.
Iconic.
You come down here with your Herman Munster shoes.
They're Louis Vuitton.
Well, even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes.
Iconic.
Yeah, iconic.
So Andy soon realized the show was much more interesting than a show about parenting and rebranded it to what we know as Roni, Real Houses of New York City, a moment that made Housewives officially a franchise. And of course, his genius was in the casting of the archetypes, which he recognized right away. You had the Countess, Luann, the old money etiquette, the loudmouth Ramona, the unfiltered one, the socialite Jill, the queen bee slash connector, the hustler slash relatable underdog Bethany, and the social climbers Alex and Simon.
Who were your favorite at this OG cast? Who was your fave?
I remember actually being like, yeah, Bethany
Yeah,
is the one that she was also the youngest. So I feel
yeah,
like as someone in high school, I was like, yeah, she's the young go-getter. She was the relatable one.
yeah.
It's so funny also how Luann was like obsessed with etiquette and she's turned into the Luann we know today. It's like so crazy.
I noticed your driver didn't call me Countess Luann. He called me by my first name. I find that very rude.
Insane, right?
She was
Insane.
so classist. Yeah.
Um, So then came Real Housewives of Atlanta next in 2008, which brought even more shade, more humor, even bigger personalities, NeNe leaks. And it showed how the franchise could really just, cross cultural lines and still work in all of these different cities. And this is a random fun fact. In late 2000s, Andy Cohen tried to launch Real Housewives of
Will
Chicago.
love it. Would have loved that.
Same. So they spent months casting and filming, but ultimately felt like the vibe was off. They scrapped the whole thing. And this was the only major US city Bravo fully developed, but then abandoned. And it really is the one US city that I feel like people are like, wait, you've done uh, New York, Orange County, Beverly Hills, even Salt Lake City, Miami, all of the big major metropolitans. Where is Chicago? So I actually have read that they really haven't gotten to a Midwestern location yet for Real Housewives because Midwesterners are like too nice and it just doesn't work. Like they just don't bring the drama in the same way that the coastal elite do. And I think that tracks as someone from the Midwest, honestly. I'm like, yeah, like I feel like there probably is less drama with a bunch of Midwestern women. Um, I don't know, but I would absolutely love to see a Real Houses of Chicago or I don't know, St. Louis. There are plenty of
Yes.
really interesting uh Midwestern cities with bougie
Oh,
sublets and
absolutely.
yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
Minnesota has a lot of bougie suburbs. Chicago for sure has so many bougie suburbs.
Yeah.
I've always thought about this. I would love to have a Real Housewives of Silicon Valley following like tech wives. I think that would be fascinating.
Oh my God, I would love that.
I would love it. And I've always heard rumblings that they were casting for a Silicon Valley but it's never really actually came into fruition. I think Real Housewives of Nashville would be really interesting too. And I actually would be most
Yes.
interested though in Silicon Valley or like a Chicago suburb type Real Housewives.
Yeah, because there was Dallas, obviously, which is now defunct, but we do need like Southern vibes somewhere. And
Yes.
I think that when you say Minnesota, like I feel like I know that we have like the icy snow ice queen vibes on
Yeah.
Salt Lake City, but I feel like a Minnesota
Oh, yeah.
filmed in the winter would be so good.
We need like an Eden Prairie, Edina, Minnesota.
Edina,
Yes.
yes. Oh my
Yes.
God, absolutely.
Ask me how I know this. Like I'm telling you, everyone I have ever worked with from Minnesota
Is
has
from
always been
Edina.
not from Edina, like a couple of them, but genuinely the nicest people I've ever met.
So nice. And also like Scandinavian. We talked about this when we did a Morgan Riddle episode on our Patreon because she's from
Yeah.
Minnesota. I'm like, she would be from Minnesota because she's like blonde and Scandinavian looking.
Yes. Like
Um,
they breed good looking and nice people.
yeah.
Give us
So
Real Houses of Edina.
honestly, yeah. Let us know, you guys. What is your dream Real Housewives city that does not exist yet? Okay, so let's talk about Andy's transition from behind the scenes to talent. So around 2007, Andy's boss at the time, Lauren Zalaznick, encouraged him to write a behind the scenes blog called Andy's Blog on BravoTV.com. And people kind of got a sense of his personal voice and sense of humor. And it was so successful, it turned into a low budget web show filmed in a small corner of the Bravo offices. It was an online interview series on the Bravo blog, which is so funny to think about him
So
like,
so
yeah,
scrappy. I love
so
it.
scrappy.
Yeah.
So in 2007, OC needed a host for its wrap up episode at the end of season two, aka a reunion. He stepped in because he knew so much about the women and the show and the dynamics, and he had no prior experience as a host before this. And this is so crazy to think about. Like a star was born.
Yes. Yes.
And in 2009, the little scrappy web show turned into live TV production called Watch What Happens Live. And his boss knew that he had this talent and interest in being on camera and he was good at it. So, yeah, the Watch What Happens Live format was born with cocktails, pop quizzes for guests, questions from viewers. I think what makes Watch What Happens Live special is
Mhm.
that it really like it feels so casual. Like you really do feel like you're just hanging out in his clubhouse, like his basement.
Yeah.
Like it's so casual. It's not as formal. I think also because the audience, I've never been to a Watch What Happens live taping, but from what I've seen of the audience when, it shows the view of the audience, it's really small. Like the live audience is
Yes.
small, it's intimate, it's cozy. Like it always just feels more casual. And I think he does a really good job of making the guests feel at ease. And maybe it is because he's offering them extracurriculars, allegedly, which we will get into in just a bit. But I think he does a really good job of making guests feel comfortable. And we know now that over the years, he's become really good friends with a lot of these. Remember when we talked about Alex Cooper? We talked about this recently on the
Yes.
Patreon too.
Yes.
We're like, Alex Cooper interviews all these celebrities and like never talks to them again.
Nary a
Andy
friend
Cohen,
around her. Yeah.
Andy Cohen becomes best friends with these celebrities. Sarah Jessica Parker, John Mayer. Like there are so many A-listers that he counts as close friends.
Yeah, and
Um,
I was gonna say also there's something about his interview style that's very disarming, and we talk
yeah.
about this a lot with Alex Cooper. It's very much plug and play, question answer, question answer. When Andy Cohen's interviewing and talking to you, and I feel the same way about like Zane Lowe, or you think about who are the most famous interviewers? Diane Sawyer. These people that they
Jimmy
disarm
Fallon.
you, they make you feel very vulnerable in a way that feels more like a conversation and a connection versus a question
Yeah.
answer. And
Yeah.
that's why you always want Andy Cohen hosting reunions or even reunions outside of Bravo, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like back in 2017, I think he hosted a reunion.
Mhm.
He hosted the not Love is Blind. Was it a Love Island reunion? People want him in the room because he disarms people and he gets the juicy shit out of people.
Yes. And I mean, how many, other reunions have we watched? For example, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives with Stassi or Nick Viall hosting, and we're like, we need Andy. Like he
Yes.
is so good at what he does.
Yes. And he makes it look effortless when in fact it is so hard to create that dynamic between
Yep.
so many people in the room. Like it's an art.
Exactly. It really is an art form and he makes it look
Yes.
so effortless. So, with the creation of Watch What Happens Live, he actually became the first openly gay man to host an American late night talk show. So, breaking barriers. So now he had two full-time jobs, executive VP at the network during the day, late night host at night. And he was taking this unusual route to talk show hosting. In college, he wanted to be on television, but had no appetite for the small market career path of most aspiring anchormen. So he was kind of paving his own path, literally. And in 2011, he eventually became the executive VP of development and talent at Bravo, which he held this position until 2013. Again, responsible for creating original content, finding talent, and executive producing. And this was kind of like maybe a conflict of interest. There was a weird dynamic at this time. He was basically the housewives' boss during the day, but their interrogator slash host during reunion. So he was like signing their checks and also asking them scandalous questions and
Yeah.
like needing them to be honest with him. So he started doing other hosting gigs in the 2010s, like Miss USA 2011 and 2012. And he actually famously declined to host the 2013 Miss Universe pageant in Russia to protest anti-LGBTQ laws that they had there. In 2012, he released his first autobiographical memoir, Most Talkative. It was an instant New York Times bestseller, and it talked about his journey from being this kid in St. Louis to TV exec. And in 2013 is when he officially stepped down from the corporate executive role to focus on his talent career. But he did stay executive producer of the Housewives franchises. So I think that's a common misconception about Andy is that he is like so pulling the strings on every franchise. Like
Right.
when we talk about casting decisions, everyone's like, well, but Andy likes this person or Andy would never fire this person or whatever it is. It's like Andy is not, he's definitely part of these conversations, I'm sure, but he is not making all of these decisions himself.
And it's funny because I feel like the housewives still do kiss his ass to make sure that they stay in good graces, even though
Yep.
ultimately it is not him making these decisions. I remember when Tamra was booted from Real Housewives of Orange County before she boomeranged back. She said on a podcast interview, she was like, the second I found out I was fired, I called Andy immediately asking him what was going on, and like they go to him as this like know all, like
Yeah.
omnipresent figure in Bravo, when in fact it's like he definitely has some say, but ultimately, like, he doesn't have that call.
Totally. Totally. So in 2014, he published his second memoir, The Andy Cohen Diaries, Deep Look at a Shallow Year. And apparently these books are really good. I haven't read any of them, but I know a lot of people who have, and they come highly recommended. So now that I'm a Kindle girly, I think I'm going to download them. Uh, in 2015, he and Anderson Cooper launched AC2, an intimate evening with Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen, a live touring conversation show that has traveled to dozens of cities. And it's actually funny how Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper actually met. They were originally supposed to be like set up on a blind date, had a phone call, and before the blind date, and Andy apparently like was asking Anderson about the Vanderbilts in a way that was like gauche. It was like, whoa, you're asking about my like famous wealthy family like before we've even met. But that's so Andy. And
Yes.
that kind of broke the ice and they realized they were better off as friends. And I know a lot of people like ship them, but yeah, no, they're clearly just like best friends.
I love Anderson Cooper, by the way.
I know, me too. I love both of them together.
Yeah.
So in 2015, he launched Radio Andy, his own curated channel on Sirius XM satellite radio. In 2016, he partnered with publisher Henry Holt and Company to launch Andy Cohen Books. And his first release under Andy Cohen Books, his imprint, was his diary memoir, Superficial More Adventures from the Andy Cohen Diaries, another New York Times bestseller, a sequel to his diary memoir spanning the next 2 years of his life. And the format was diary entries about celebrity interactions and producing reality TV. So it also had some insider tea in there for people interested. He did some hosting for a show called Love Connection in 2017 and 2018, which I did not watch, but it was a
No.
classic dating show back in the day, and it was kind of a reboot. He also launched Most Talkative Productions in 2017, his production company. And starting in 2017, he hosted CNN's New Year's Eve live broadcast with Anderson Cooper, which is a favorite. A lot of people love their New Year's Eve special.
Dick's
And
Christmas. What is it called?
Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke's like New Year's Eve ball drop.
Yep.
Dick's ball drop.
Dick's ball drop.
Yep.
So, in 2021, he released the book Glitter Every Day, 365 quotes from women I love, inspired by his mother, a collection of quotes from famous women for each day of the year. I think that Andy, something I love about him is that he genuinely loves women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he does. Like he created these shows around women. He loves them. He appreciates them. Uh, and I know that, there is a world where he could be accused of being a misogynist, like a lot of the men on Bravo. But I think he
Yeah.
genuinely, from what I've seen, genuinely loves women. And in 2022, it was announced that a coming of age comedy series inspired by Andy Cohen's best selling 2012 memoir, Most Talkative, was in development, but so far, no news on if this is ever going to be a thing. So I guess maybe that's dead in the water. And in 2023, he releases The Daddy Diaries, The Year I Grew Up, and it is more personal diary entries focusing on his role as a dad in his 50s, centers a lot on being the only single gay dad at his son's school, alongside, behind the scenes Bravo drama, etc. And it was another New York Times bestseller.
What are your thoughts on people criticizing him for always having problematic men's backs? I think a lot of people give Andy Cohen shit for always giving the Southern Charm boys the benefit of the doubt, always butting
Oh,
up to them, always like never giving them like the hard-hitting questions. For instance, whenever there's a Summer House reunion on the Summer House side of things, he never holds Kyle's feet to the fire. I sometimes
hmm.
do feel like he is harder on women than he is with men, and people speculate, and I kind of do believe this as well, that he kind of wants to be part of the cool guys club. Like he wants to be part of Shep Austin and Craig's little throuple. He wants to be friends with them above all else. So he always gives them a bit of softball questions during reunions.
That's actually a really good point. And I think that that's criticism that he gets for sure is that when it comes to Craig Austin and Shep on Southern Charm or Kyle, Carl, West, and Jesse on Summer House, that he wants to be in the group and is maybe, I don't know, this is not my personal opinion, but what people say about him is that he's maybe attracted to some of them. We will get into this, but he has been very open about being attracted to younger guys, which again is something that he gets a lot of criticism for. And yeah, so he, I think, has a different relationship with those younger guys on the younger shows. And especially with Summer House, you remember like after the reunion, he was out to dinner with West,
West.
Jesse, Kyle, and Carl. Emerald wasn't invited,
Yes.
which poor Emerald, justice for Emerald. But people thought it was really weird. It's like you're like out to dinner with like West and Jesse, like these
Yeah.
20 something guys. Uh,
That was really odd. I'm just gonna call it what it is. That
yeah.
was super odd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he
And
doesn't
people,
really do that with most, I mean,
no,
from what I
no,
know.
you never see him after reunions going out to dinner with like anyone.
No.
At least from what we've seen on social media, which I know doesn't tell the whole story. But who else? Oh yeah, he definitely people accuse him of like really having a soft spot for Craig, even though Craig is like the worst. You guys know we're
The
blocked by Craig.
vote.
We hate him. He's the woat. But he definitely seems to have a soft spot for some of the younger, good-looking guys. So take that, for with what you will.
Mhm.
Let's get into his fatherhood and then his relationship. So in 2018, he announced he was expecting a child via surrogate on Watch What Happens Live. His son, Benjamin Allen Cohen, was born on February 4th, 2019, via surrogacy. And then in April 2022, he had his daughter, Lucy Eve Cohen, also via surrogacy. And Ben often had playdates with Anderson Cooper's son, who is also close in age. And Andy and Anderson have that in common. They're both fellow gay single dads. So, in terms of his relationship history, which I feel like is such a mystery to me, like I didn't
I
even know
know.
like any of this until, we did research for this episode. But he's never been married, but he did have a couple of public relationships, which to me weren't even like that public. So he was in a relationship with John Hill for about 3 years in the 2000s. And John Hill's a Broadway actor. And they just had like different careers and life paths, which caused them to split. And Andy says they actually made a bad sex tape and jokes that it's on some janky format. So Andy Cohen's sex tape might be floating out there. Who knows? And Hill ended up working as a producer on Watch What Happens Live and is now a close colleague of Andy's when it comes to Radio Andy. So they've remained close friends and colleagues. From 2015 to 2018, he was in a serious relationship with Clifton Dasunko. I don't know how to pronounce this name, but he's an epidemiologist and toxicologist. And he's actually 20 years younger than Andy. When they dated, he was 28 while Andy was 47. He grew up in Queens, attended private school in Manhattan, went to MIT for undergrad and Harvard for a master's and PhD. So smart cookie. But in Andy, one of Andy's books, he nicknamed him the Brazilian Andy Samberg. And I looked him up and he really does look like Andy Samberg. It's really funny.
Andy Samberg is so cute to me.
Yeah, he's a cutie. So they kept their relationship pretty private, never posted on socials, was photographed together only once. But yeah, they confirmed they broke up in March 2018, and Andy was back on the dating apps. And of course, like we said, fans like to ship Andy and Anderson Cooper because they have such great chemistry, but they laugh it off and they deny anything romantic ever happening. Like we said, um, they were originally supposed to be set up on a blind date, but realized they were better as friends. So, yeah, I don't see anything romantic between them. I don't think that Anderson is Andy's type. Andy likes younger men.
100%. And I feel like if it would have happened by now. Like they've been friends for so long.
Yeah,
They're just
totally.
BFFs.
Totally. There are always rumors about Andy and John Mayer.
I 100% believe those rumors, by the way. 1 million
I
percent.
I go back and forth. Like part of me does. Part of me is like they are allowed to just be good friends. Like they have great chemistry. They have the same taste in music. I don't know, but the rumors have persisted for a really long time that they have had some sort of romantic or sexual fling allegedly, but again, that has
Yeah.
never ever been confirmed.
I just remember when John Mayer made out with Perez Hilton in like 2005. Like I think John Mayer is I'm not saying that makes him gay because he made out with Perez Hilton,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is like there's some fluidity there. He's a little bit more like sexually, he's a
Yeah.
little bit more open. So
Yeah.
I that along with so many other rumors that I've heard, I definitely think there is some weight to this theory for sure.
What do you guys think? Let us know. There's also rumors that Andy may or may not have had a fling with Jax Taylor.
Oh,
People have speculated that Andy is the one that bailed Jax out of jail in when he stole sunglasses in
yes.
Hawaii.
Yep,
I can never
Hawaii.
remember if it was Hawaii or
It was
Mexico.
Hawaii.
Hawaii. People also think that Bethany, everyone always thinks that Bethany has something on Andy. And people have speculated, this has never been confirmed, that Bethany has a picture of Andy hooking up with a Bravo celebrity, which Andy has denied ever hooking up with a Bravo celebrity. But apparently that's just a rumor that maybe there is some sort of dirt that Bethany has on him that would be really bad for him. And maybe it's Jax Taylor. Again, these are all unsubstantiated rumors. And people always do wonder what Bethany has on him.
Yeah.
And something that people also speculate is that Andy, like we said, has been criticized for being into younger guys. He says that he likes younger twinks in his own words. And, he has over the years allegedly always had a posse of quote unquote barely legal twinks that he keeps around him. And, it's kind of an open secret that he travels around with them. And obviously, this is all alleged, but,
Right.
we have stories of Bryan Singer and other Hollywood honchos who have gotten canceled for similar behavior.
Oh yeah, this
So,
is this is like Hollywood showbiz. Like this
yeah,
is not a crazy theory at all. This has happened so many times. I mean, I don't doubt this is real.
yeah. So, people speculate that, does he give drugs and have sex with potentially underage guys? Is that something that, has to be kept under wraps? Uh, but other people are like, he is so candid about his drug use and his hookups. It would be kind of crazy to think that he's hiding anything that out there. Uh, who knows? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when you have so much power, you start to really push boundaries because you know you can get away. with so much. And I think that goes for every person that has had a taste of fame in their life. And when you're as powerful and as wealthy and as influential as Andy Cohen is, everyone in the Bravo franchise kisses his ass.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that maybe he's had a thought to maybe take advantage of his position and, lure some of these people in. Like, this is, again, so much dark. I'm not saying Andy Cohen is necessarily dark, but this has literally been happening
Yeah.
since like old Hollywood days. Like, Judy Garland was fed Adderall when she was very young to make sure that she
Yes.
stayed thin and that she was awake during filming.
Yes.
This is a perpetual cycle in Hollywood, and this is not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay, so here's the blind item from Crazy Days and Nights from August 2018. Well, this is allegedly about Andy and Bethany. Well, now I know why this talk show host is always sticking up for this reality star and making sure others corroborate whatever she says that is controversial, even if it means taking a position 180 degrees from what they previously have said. Apparently, she has some information from almost a decade ago that makes him look absolutely awful and would have everyone turn on him in an instant. So, whatever
She
that
would
may
go
be,
she would go there too. I
she
feel like,
would.
yes.
Oh my God. Having Bethany Frankel have dirt on me, I would never sleep again.
Oh, one eye open, always.
One eye open. I
Yes.
would, oh my God, no, I can't even. Someone like that, Bethany, like that's like the last person you want to have dirt on you. But on Call Her Daddy, when he did Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper in October 2025, he was asked if he'd ever been romantically involved with a Bravo cast member, and he definitively said never. In Call Her Daddy, they let them like choose the questions and screen the questions. So I don't know why he would allow that question in there if it was something he had done. Like they could easily just not ask that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was also gonna say maybe he did it so he could dispel the rumors right then and there, knowing full
Yeah.
well that he has had relations with his little coworkers.
Yep, that's true. That's a good point. Okay, so let's get into some of his controversies and famous feuds. So first, his feud with Kathy Griffin. And in 2017, Kathy was fired from CNN's New Year's Eve show. Wait, first, did you watch her show, My Life on the D List?
My sister was obsessed with
So
her,
was I.
read her book.
Yep.
She did a signing of her book in Laguna Beach. Audrey went, like Audrey was obsessed. I never watched.
I was obsessed with her too. I loved that show. Again, that was pre-Housewives.
Yes.
Um, so in 2017, Kathy was fired from CNN's New Year's Eve show. And this was right after she did the controversial photo shoot with the bloody severed head of our president. And she'd been doing the show with Anderson for 10 years at that point. And once she was fired, Andy was her immediate replacement. And I mean, her show, My Life on the D-List, had such an iconic run. It won a primetime it won two primetime Emmys, which is crazy. And her boss was Andy for a significant amount of
Wow.
time. And leading up to the New Year's Eve show, Andy was asked about Kathy by TMZ, and he pretended he didn't know her. He did the Mariah Carey, who I don't know her. And she ended up calling him misogynistic. And she says, even what's on tape, there are doubters. He is not kidding with Paps. Was my boss. He claimed that he was joking. She says, he was my boss for 10 years, treated me like a dog. He's deeply misogynistic. And then Kathy also called Anderson spineless when he did not come to her defense over the firing.
I actually do think Kathy Griffin was fucked after this because you don't really hear much about her. She
Yeah.
was huge in like 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
She almost was like the Andy Cohen, who Andy Cohen is now.
Yep.
And it seems like she was kind of blacklisted after this happened. Like, what has she done since then? I don't really know.
She kind of was. I remember when she briefly was appointed to replace Joan Rivers on Fashion Police, and I
Oh,
loved Fashion Police. And apparently, Joan Rivers, before she died, said that the only person she could see replacing her was Kathy Griffin. And so Kathy Griffin briefly took the helm, and it just wasn't the same because Kathy Griffin was never like a fashionista. She's funny, but she was never like a fashion icon like Joan Rivers was. So Kathy posted a 17-minute YouTube video shortly after Andy's comments, and she was mad. She sat down with her notes and she was ready to fucking raise hell. She claimed that Andy offered her cocaine before Watch What Happens live appearances. She said, both times I did the show, right before we went live, Andy privately asked me in an office if I wanted to do blow. I've never had a drink in my life, which is surprising, actually. I didn't know that she was kind of a
Sober.
teetotaler.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys know I'm no prude, but I'm kind of like a straight edge. I thought he was kidding the first time. I was hoping he was kidding the second time I did the show. Same thing. So once again, we're alone in an office and he's like, want to do some coke? And I'm thinking, he's serious. Trust me, he's going to say he's kidding and everything. No, he was asking me to do cocaine with him. That made me very uncomfortable. See, I 100% believe
Oh,
this.
are you kidding? Of course this happened. Give me a break. This is like a
Yeah,
normal Tuesday in finance. Like, come
exactly.
on.
And I think Andy made the mistake of asking the wrong person. But I think
Yes.
he asked his guests, the ones that he's like, she's cool, it'll be fine. Like, she's cool. Like, she wants to do blow. Like, I'm sure with many a housewife. Also, like, let's be real here. They film the show at it's usually 10 p.m. Eastern
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Like, like these people have to be tired. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Like,
and I feel like why would she pull this out of her ass? This is such a
yeah,
specific story, and she
it's
knows the
so
platform that
specific.
Andy has. She wouldn't just pull this out of her ass out of nowhere.
Exactly. And this would be like tantamount to slander or libel or whatever. Uh I'm
Yeah,
so
I mean,
stupid. I'm
yeah.
like slander, libel, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh
it could be, yeah.
no, literally. Like went out and said it. She accused him of doing this thing. She also said that he was a miserable boss while her show was on Bravo was airing. And she said, I didn't know when they ended the D list, and I desperately wanted to do a talk show. Andy Cohen would be the first television executive in the history of television to give himself a talk show, which seems to get picked up every season, which is true. Watch What Happens Live is not known for having great ratings at all. I don't think it makes Bravo any money. It is expensive to produce.
Yeah.
I mean, not like super expensive. From what I've heard, it's expensive to produce. It airs every single night. You have a whole
Yeah.
cast and crew. Uh, you have a whole set, and it gets some episodes get like 100,000 live viewers.
Right.
So, but it gets picked up every single season because it's Andy, and Andy is, he gets what he wants.
Yeah.
And she alleged that Andy was trying to make himself the face of Bravo at her expense because she claims that she was the face of Bravo before Andy, which I don't know if I entirely agree with that. Like, My Life on the D List was a cultural phenomenon, but so was Project Runway and Heidi Klum. So was Top Chef and Tom Colicchio. Like there were so many people that you could argue were on the same level. Oh my God, Workout with Jackie Warner. Love that show. Jackie
Yeah.
Warner, I can't believe Jackie Warner has like I don't know if she's like done anything controversial or problematic. I haven't kept up with her, but like she was like everywhere
It's
during
like
this time too.
It's like saying Lauren Conrad is the face of MTV at the height of the Hills. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
the Hills was one of the biggest shows on that network, but there were many other shows as well on that network. Lauren
Yeah,
Conrad wasn't the queen of MTV. Or sorry,
totally.
MTV, right? Was it MTV?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
MTV. The Hills, yeah.
Did you hear that MTV's is
Yeah.
RIPing?
That's actually like so crazy to me.
Yeah, I can't compute that. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'm still in like a denial phase. Yeah.
I know it's like really like weird. Like
Yeah,
that was our childhood.
right.
Okay, so Andy immediately denied these accusations after this explosive video. He tweeted, I am completely stunned by this story. It is 100% false and totally made up. Have said many times it's not my thing. I'm a pot guy. Listen to my Howard interviews. I am very specific. So his response is, I don't even do coke. I smoke pot. Hmm.
Also, you wouldn't openly unless you're well, if you guys know, we did a Travis Barker, Kourtney Kardashian, Kim Kardashian episode on the Patreon, patreon.com/snarkbaitpod. Travis Barker's memoir was one of the juiciest celebrity memoirs I've ever read. I feel like unless you're Travis Barker and admitting that you've done like so many pills and coke and all this stuff, like you're not openly saying that on Howard
Yeah,
Stern. We
totally,
all know you
totally.
guys do, everyone's doing it, but no one's like openly admitting that.
Yeah, because like, why would you openly admit that?
Yeah, like everyone, it's the best kept
Mhm.
secret in Hollywood. Like
Yeah,
cocaine, everyone does
exactly.
cocaine, and cheese is expensive. Like that meme, everyone does it, but no one's out here saying this, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's not a good excuse, Andy.
Yeah. And he claimed that his like I don't know her was all a joke. That's what really set her off. He was like, I thought it was funny and I just wanted to not be involved and blah blah blah. And Kathy continued to slam Andy in interviews. and he kind of has ignored her. But Kathy came back in a stand-up routine just this year saying that Andy never apologized. He kind of did a sorry, not sorry. The tenor was sort of civil. And she noted that Andy is a powerful guy and explained that she didn't really need to be in any more beefs publicly. But again, claimed that he never really apologized, was never genuine. And the beef, the feud between them, it never really got resolved. Okay. As for a big nothing burger, which is his New Year's Eve drunken rant on New Year's Eve 2021, aka going into 2022, he co-hosted the special with Anderson and he appeared super drunk on air, which you could argue is unprofessional. But he made fun of the competing ABC New Year's show hosted by Ryan Seacrest and called them Ryan Seacrest group of losers.
That was kind of
And
funny.
I know, like, how funny is
And
that?
that's like all in good fun. Come on, they're both like
Yeah.
gazillionaires. They're both so wealthy. They're just poking fun. It's like low stakes humor. I thought it was funny.
It was exactly. It was so low
Yeah.
stakes. He said he made a comment. If you're watching ABC tonight, you've seen nothing. Ryan Seacrest's group of losers performing behind us, like slurring his words. It's so funny. He did an iconic Bill de Blasio rant, who was the mayor of New York City at the time. The only thing Democrats and Republicans can agree on is what a horrible mayor he's been.
Yeah, that's
His
funny. Like, come
It's funny.
on.
It was true. He was a horrible mayor. His outburst went viral, and Andy half apologized the next day, saying he was being stupid and drunk and said he actually liked Ryan Seacrest, but CNN was very mad. And for the 2022 New Year's Eve show, they banned on-air drinking, and Andy was pissed about that. He said, "People want to see me and Meg." People want to see me make Anderson giggle, and they love to see him do shots.
Yeah, that's the shit
It's
I want to see
true.
on New Year's Eve. I don't want to see this like sterile, hello and welcome to
It's
the
true.
next New Year's Eve. Yeah.
It's New Year's Eve. Like it's all
Yes.
about getting drunk. Duh.
Right.
And the ban was set around the time that Chris Licht was the CNN chairman and CEO. He was fired after 13 months in the position. So after that, they reversed the alcohol ban. Andy's allowed to get drunk again. Hallelujah. Okay, so let's talk about the NeNe Leaks discrimination lawsuit in 2022. NeNe Leaks was one of the biggest, if we're going to talk about faces of Bravo,
Yes.
she was the face of Bravo for
Yes.
a long time. She was so one of the most successful people to come out of Bravo. She
Mount
was a,
Rushmore's, it's her. I
yes.
feel like Vanderpump,
Oh,
Bethany. Who else?
oh my God. Don't ask me on the spot. Vicky.
Vicky. Yeah. I
It
think
has
those
to be
four.
OGs. People would say like Teresa, maybe.
Teresa too. Yeah.
Who's on your guys' Real Houses Mount Rushmore? It has to be OGs, right? Like
Yeah.
I actually wouldn't put Kyle Richards
I
because
wouldn't
Kyle
either.
Richards is so boring and overrated.
Yeah.
But I
Vanderpump
think
brought it.
Lisa Vanderpump, yeah. Okay, so yeah, NeNe ended up doing Broadway. She was on Glee. She was actually great in Glee. Like she was everywhere for a period of time. She ended up filing this discrimination lawsuit against Andy, Bravo, and NBC Universal in April 2022, alleging they fostered a racist and hostile work environment. She ended up voluntarily dismissing the lawsuit without prejudice a few months later in August as the parties reached a private settlement agreement, aka they heavily paid her off. She claimed she endured years of racially insensitive and stereotypical comments from her white co star, Kim Zolciak. She alleged that when she complained to executives about the behavior, no meaningful action was taken against Zolciak. And in some cases, Zolciak was rewarded with a spinoff show, Don't Be Tardy, if you
Yeah.
recall, which I've always hated Kim Zolciak. I've always gotten nefarious vibes from her. I think
Yeah.
she's a horrible human being. She alleged that Kim used the N word and other racist remarks targeting Black cast
Jeez.
members. And NeNe claimed her complaints led to her being forced off the Real Houses of Atlanta in 2020 before its 13th season, which she alleged violated federal employment and anti-discrimination lawsuits or laws. Excuse me. In a separate 2020 Twitter rant, NeNe called Andy a racist and claimed he abused her for years and stopped her from working because she was a threat to his career. NeNe's Twitter bio said at the time, blacklisted for telling the truth and not wanting to be abused anymore. Receipts. Her legal team stated that the alleged racism was tolerated by Bravo executive producer Andy Cohen and other executives. And Andy was named specifically in the suit as the mascot in chief and key decision maker. And a representative for Andy called the claims against him completely false. And she ended up, again, withdrawing slash dismissing the case after settling. So, again, I think we can all assume she was paid off a healthy amount.
Yeah.
And the case never went to trial. All parties agreed to a joint stipulation of dismissal without prejudice, which means the case was concluded, but NeNe reserved the right to refile in the future if necessary. Terms of the settlement were never disclosed. And since the lawsuit's dismissal, NeNe has said that she felt blacklisted from the entertainment industry as a result of speaking out, a claim that Bravo and Andy have denied. But this does feel true. Like whether it was at the hands of Bravo and Andy or just people being wary of someone who filed a lawsuit against their former employer, I think it could be either. But she did seem to fall off for a few years, right? Like we said, she was on Broadway, she was on Glee, she had acting gigs. She was super successful and then, kind of wasn't. But I think also that can be attributed to her just not being on Bravo anymore, which keeps people relevant.
And yeah, and I think with racial discrimination cases against employers, it's super hard. I think for it, more often than not, the employer will just end up paying
Yep.
the victim out because it's going to be drawn out. It's really I don't know. Those
Yeah,
get really testy, and I feel like this is probably a lot more common than people realize in employer employee relationships. And HR deals with this
totally.
all the time. I'm not saying these claims are incorrect. She probably did face a lot of racial
Yep.
discrimination and name calling from her co-host and the network doing nothing about it. I have no doubt that this
Yeah,
happened.
totally. Totally.
I'm glad she
S
got her bag and got out of there though.
yeah, completely. So, recently NeNe has indicated her relationship with the network has improved, and she stated she'd be open to returning to the network if they could work through a few things. And apparently she is. Have you heard about this new Ultimate Girls Trip road trip edition?
No, but it's for OGs. Love
Okay,
that.
yeah. So from what I've heard, it is going to be a bunch of OGs that are going to be the core cast on this bus or whatever it is. I'm picturing like the Road Rules bus, like if you ever watch
Yeah.
Road Rules, doing a cross-country road trip to the Real Housewives cities and meeting up with other housewives across the country. And apparently NeNe is going to be in the core cast, which I think will be really fun. Okay, so this was just the beginning of some housewives lawsuits. Next, let's talk about Leah McSweeney's
The reality reckoning.
the reality reckoning. What were your thoughts on Leah McSweeney when she was on Roni?
Okay, so I watched the first season of the excuse me, the first season of Leah McSweeney coming on the scene, and I remember thinking this season sucks. Like I know that she was a fan favorite. I never
Hmm.
really understood why. I didn't find her very fascinating. I didn't
Yeah.
like her. I didn't hate her. I was just like she's just kind of there. I was very confused when the audience reaction to Leah's freshman season was so positive because I was like, am I missing something? Her second season, I feel like she, from what I recall,
My
she was
God.
blaming production for pushing her to drink, even though she was famously sober
Yeah.
for a period of time. She said that I think the show pushed her to basically relapse and into her alcoholism. Again, I don't know. I always felt that Reality Reckoning never stood well with the Bravo audience. I think the Bravo audience is very they rally against Andy. They rally against the franchise because they have the most insane audience, including you and I. Like we are
Yeah.
crazy, and I think that we acknowledge that we're crazy and we go behind the shows like their own child. I feel like when Leah stood up against Bravo, she opened a can of worms and no one was willing to stand behind her.
I think it would have helped totally. I think it would have helped if Leah was more likable in her second season. I think
Yeah.
she I think part of it was that she had an amazing debut season.
Unprecedented, I felt like
Andy
everyone
said,
was
yeah,
obsessed. Yes, I remember on
everyone
the
loved her. And
reunion.
Andy said that it was probably one of the best debuts of a housewife ever. All of the fans loved her. She was so popular. And then maybe that got to her head. And in her second season, she was insufferable. She was sanctimonious, and people didn't like her anymore. And I think that that was probably just a shock to her system and really unsettling for her. And I think I'm not doubting what she has said here. I think that she also wanted someone to blame, and she took it out on blamed production.
Yeah.
So in February 2024, she filed this lawsuit against Andy and Bravo for allegedly harassing, discriminating, and retaliating against her as a woman with disabilities, such as alcohol use disorder and various mental health disorders, all in the name of selling drama. And her disabilities included, like she said, alcohol use disorder. And she said that cast members were, including her, were pressured to consume alcohol and other drugs and that they did not have a safe environment to accommodate her disability of alcohol use disorder and instead exploited her sobriety and mental health issues for drama. And she alleges that Andy used cocaine with cast members, a claim his legal team calls categorically false and defamatory.
This is now two
And
times now where
I know
people are publicly calling him out for using cocaine with his employees, and he continues to deny it.
my first thought was that like, and maybe Leah said this at one point. I don't know why this is my first thought that like I think maybe she was mad that he didn't invite her to do coke originally with like I think that he would ask his favorites to do coke with him.
Of course, yes. I believe that.
I think it was like a favoritism thing that also bugged her.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just like my own theory. But Bravo conducted an internal investigation and decided in March 2025 that the claims were unsubstantiated after interviews with cast and crew. And again, I think it's safe to assume when Bravo does a quote unquote internal investigation that they are always going to side with Andy because
Of
Andy is
course.
their moneymaker.
Of course. They would never find Andy responsible for all this. I mark my
Yeah,
words. They are doing their job is to protect the network, and that means protecting their most prized possession. That is Andy Cohen. They know exactly what
exactly.
happened. This is, yeah. They're just trying to save their
Exactly.
ass.
So Leah claims she faced retaliation for raising concerns, and that claim was allowed to proceed by a judge, which was actually unprecedented. The judge ruled that three of McSweeney's claims could move forward: a hostile workplace environment claim regarding her substance abuse disorder and mental illness, a reasonable accommodation claim, and retaliation under the Americans with Disabilities Act. 10 additional claims regarding the same issues were dismissed with individual producers as defendants, but can still be pursued against the corporate defendants. And 20 claims alleging sex and religious discrimination were dismissed entirely. And again, this is unprecedented because this is the first time in the contemporary era of Bravo that a legal claim from a former Bravo star against the network was litigated in a public hearing, and the first time a judge has issued an order that a case could proceed. Um, Andy filed to dismiss the suit, saying the claims were threadbare and violating First Amendment rights, but a judge denied dismissing. And he accused Leah of seeking tabloid attention and leverage for a settlement. And in May 2025, Leah filed an amended lawsuit against Andy, specifically accusing him of orchestrating a coordinated campaign to discredit her. Her claims include that he abused his power to direct or induce an army of approximately 24 current and former Bravo personalities to publicly call her a liar and cast doubt on her character. So that's what we're saying about this internal investigation. She's claiming that Andy orchestrated everyone to side with him and call Leah a liar, even if it was true. Um, Among other things, she says that he caused reputational damage and the loss of sponsorships and career opportunities, effectively blackballing her from the industry. And my question with that is like, is it Andy blackballing you or is it yourself blackballing yourself? Because a lot of companies and brands won't want to work with someone who files a lawsuit against an ex-employer. Like, is it the chicken or the egg, you know?
Yeah, and I have trouble with this a little bit. Like, I'm not downplaying anyone's disabilities or addictions or mental health disorders. Like, that's all real. But there comes a time when you as an adult have to take a little bit of autonomy over your physical and mental health. And if you see yourself slipping into environments that could be potentially triggering or threaten your sobriety or your recovery, you need to do your best to get yourself out of that situation. Like
Yeah.
at that point, it's like you're not a child with no autonomy. Like you have a brain, your frontal lobe has been developed. Make the decision to walk away. Don't blame it on other people. I don't know. I just don't like people that always have to put blame on other people for decisions that ultimately they themselves are the only ones responsible for.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's a
like
good
it.
point. That's a
Yeah,
good
it's
point because you could argue that Leah, if she felt like this environment wasn't conducive to her sobriety, could remove herself.
absolutely
But
like yeah.
I think maybe her argument would be, well, this is my income. I need to work here. I need to make money. Uh,
And I
I don't
think my
know.
response to that would be this sounds really callous, but knew what you were signing up for. You're on Real Housewives
Yeah.
of fucking New York. That is the most alcohol fueled
The
franchise
most
in
alcohol fueled franchise.
in the entire network. Like, give me a
Yep.
break. You know when you're hanging out with Sonia, Luann, and Ramona, what you are getting. So you have to take a little bit of self reflection and autonomy for yourself. Sorry if that's
Exactly.
harsh.
I mean, Yeah. The lawsuit is still ongoing with some parts dismissed, but the big claims regarding retaliation are moving forward. So the legal battle is going to get more complex moving forward. So TBD on what happens with that. And in the same month, Brandy Glanville called for Andy to be fired because he allegedly propositioned her for sex with another Bravo star, accusing him of sexually harassing her in 2022, saying via her lawyers that in a video sent by Mr. Cohen to Miss Glanville in 2022, Mr. Cohen, appearing obviously inebriated, boasted of his intention to sleep with another Bravo star that night while thinking of her and invited her to watch via FaceTime.
Wasn't it about like one of the Southern Charm boys? Am I making
I
that up?
honestly have no idea.
I might have just made that up. I apologize. I don't know if that is substantiated at all, but for some reason I'm picturing her being propositioned by Andy with a Southern Charm boy. Could be wrong.
Yeah. So who knows? Her lawyers were like, any boss who is clearly inebriated, encouraging their employee by FaceTime video to watch their boss have sex with another employee constitutes sexual harassment, plain and simple. Why is Andy Cohen getting a pass? Any other supervisor who engaged in this behavior would be fired immediately. And Andy responded on social media, writing, the video shows Kate Kate Chastain from Below Deck and Traders fame. And I very clearly joking to Brandy, it was absolutely meant in jest. And Brandy's response clearly communicated she was in on the joke. That said, it was totally inappropriate and I apologize, which I think is a decent response. I also wonder if Brandy knew it was a joke and is like, I want the payout that NeNe Leakes got. They
Yeah.
know that NeNe Leakes got like a substantial payout. So I wonder if that crossed her mind. But I also know that Brandy has been very troubled for quite some time. So
Yeah, I was gonna say context. eh, I don't doubt he did this. Obviously, he did do it. He's admitting it.
yeah, he admitted it.
But we have to talk about Brandy's history with
Yeah,
just she's very erratic. At times can be an unreliable narrator. Yeah, I don't know. Brandy's tough for me because
I know.
she's done said and done very problematic
Yes.
things that have very much not aged well.
Yeah, she's definitely not a reliable narrator, like you said. But
Yeah.
her lawyers slammed this apology as fake. It's no excuse to say that this was a joke. NBC has mistakenly given Andy too much power across their network. He is a man hosting reunions across several cities in the franchise, producing and starring in his own show to promote these vehicles, hosting a juggernaut conference, monetizing the Bravo sphere on the backs of women, and is the capo running this reality machine. NBC has clearly decided that he is too big to fail. And something to think about. Something to think
I
about.
mean, I think they hit it on the head though. Brandy's lawyer slayed, but that is exactly what has happened
They
though.
they
He is
ate
too big to
that.
fail. Yes.
They ate that. Like whether he did that or not, they're not wrong about him being too big to fail, about him, like when you put it that way, like him building this juggernaut of reality TV on the backs of women. Like they're not wrong about that. And
Yeah.
yeah, like he probably has been given too much power. The lawyers compared him to Matt Lauer and they
Oh,
accused NBC of covering up his scandals to protect him. So that is quite the accusation. And a month prior, mind you, Caroline Manzo sued Bravo over alleged sexual misconduct involving Brandy on the lost season of Ultimate Girls Trip in Morocco, and which also was going to have speak of the devil, Alex.
Alex.
What's her name?
Alex from Roni, season one, Brooklyn,
God, why can
Brownstone.
I? It's Simon Van Kempen.
Yes. Alex Van Kempen. Yes.
Wait, that doesn't sound right. Is that really? Does she have Alex McCord? Alex McCord.
Oh, you're
I
right. You're
forgot
right.
they have different last names.
Yeah.
Okay, so uh the whole thing, Brandy against Andy slash Bravo, is on pause because her lawyers dropped her. So that's that on that. Lastly, let's get into Kenley Collins, who I actually do remember vaguely from Project Runway season 5, which aired in 2008. She accused Andy of inappropriate behavior during Project Runway's run on Bravo, and he was an executive producer on the show from 2004 to 2008. And she actually posted a series of videos on Instagram claiming that Andy was more of a predator on set than Harvey Weinstein. So you
What?
so you have Matt Lauer comparisons. Now Harvey Weinstein comparisons, like
The
that's not
severe.
good.
Yeah.
That's not good. So she alleged that Andy would target, and mind you, this Kenley, she did not file any sort of lawsuit. I don't think that she was looking for a payday. She just spoke about this on social media. And she alleged that Andy would target, I don't know what exactly spurred her to come out with this. But she alleged that Andy would target young gay male contestants, calling them quote unquote twinks, and propositions designers for threesomes during production. She said, do you guys really think Harvey Weinstein was the worst one on set? Andy Cohen was.
Whoa. This is scathing. And I think to compare him to Harvey Weinstein, like this is kind of reminding me of like James Charles a little bit. He would
Yeah, it's
like
not good.
proposition really young
Young
boys.
guys, even if they were of age, just the fact that he has been very open about preferring young guys is like we would question a straight guy, Nick Vile, like we
Yeah.
question any straight guy that only is interested in young women.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
know, so it shouldn't be any different. The Weinstein Company, by the way, produced the early seasons of Project Runway while it was on Bravo, which I totally forgot about.
Oh, yeah.
She said Andy was a disgusting, horrible, worst predator with the gays, hopping around the set like, "Hey, twinks." She said, we called him the gay Weinstein, acting like a fucking clown on set. And Andy never commented on these allegations, probably not wanting to draw attention to them because she's not some huge Bravo celebrity. She has a following of about 60K on Instagram, but she hasn't been on the network in almost 20 years. She never pursued legal action, just posted her claims on Instagram. And she alleged that NBC has paid substantial amounts of money to cover up Andy's actions and protect him from legal repercussions. And like I've said this entire episode, I
Yeah.
1000% believe this.
I
Not
have no doubt.
not saying that I believe the Harvey Weinstein comparisons necessarily. I mean, I don't not believe them. But I think that NBC does whatever they can to protect him and cover up any misdeeds that he does because he is so irreplaceable to them.
Right.
Bravo will suffer without him when he eventually retires, like we said. And he's their face. And like we said, like when we were talking at the top of the episode about Chris Harrison, like, yeah, I think Bravo could survive with a replacement. But would the ratings go down? Would people be asking for Andy back at reunions? Would his replacement do as good of a job as him? Probably not.
No.
Right?
No, I completely agree. And Andy Cohen is tied to money. Like the network needs to
Yeah.
protect their cash cow, their golden boy. That is Andy Cohen.
Yeah.
Regardless of whatever allegations are being slung his way, they're gonna do their best to just like push it down or throw money at the problem because they actually cannot afford to lose him.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't even mention the fact that he has a gorgeous, not only a gorgeous Hamptons home, but a gorgeous, oh, excuse me, a gorgeous West Village townhouse. He is, I mean, it's no surprise he's set for life via Bravo. And he actually is like people see him in the West Village all the time. And speaking of his being outwardly Jewish, he actually lit the West Village menorah publicly in on one of the nights of Hanukkah. I can't remember which one. So a lot of people were there, took pictures of him, took pictures with him. Uh Anyway, that's just a sidebar. NBC and Andy have denied all wrongdoing here, and an independent investigation found that both Leah McSweeney's and Brandy Glanville's claims were unsubstantiated, but insiders say the growing pile of accusations is a major concern for Bravo.
Yeah.
It's no longer about one lawsuit, says a network source. It's about whether Andy Cohen is now more of a liability than an asset. Something to think about.
Wow. That is like that puts chills up my spine because if there is a, dare I say, reality reckoning against Andy Cohen, the way in which we consume Bravo, we talk about Bravo, the entire landscape would change.
Yep.
Like you said, who would host the conversations that would be had all over the internet, on Reddit, on Instagram, like it would be earth-shattering, I think,
It
for the
would.
Bravo community.
It would. It would be absolutely earth-shattering
And
is the
we're
perfect word.
diehards. We're still
Yeah.
diehards for this network. Like
Yeah.
that's why BravoCon can exist after year after year after year because they will show up and show out and spend a shit ton of money. So if Andy Cohen is let go, it's like we feel like we've lost our CEO,
Yeah,
fearless leader.
exactly. So let us know what you guys think. Do you think that Andy is replaceable? Do you think that he is on par with Matt Lauer, Harvey Weinstein, like some of these accusers have claimed? Let us know. And yeah, that about wraps up our Andy Cohen episode. Uh, I think in terms of like final closing thoughts, I'm like, what are they? That's the thing. It's like, what would they do? Like, what would Bravo ever actually see him as more of a liability than an asset? I don't think so. But is he? Like, I don't know, you guys. It's
Yeah.
it's a tough one because he really is so indispensable, and Bravo realizes that. And I don't know. I do believe that Bravo has covered up some of his misdeeds, whether it's
Of
actually
course.
sexual harassment, like uh Kenley Collins claimed, or offering coke to Watch What Happens Live's guests,
Or racial discrimination, like
racial
yeah.
discrimination. The list goes on. It's like just about everything you could think of.
That is actually pretty crazy that there's been multiple people under the network now that have accused him of
Yeah.
various different things, and a couple
Yeah.
other people are backing up these other cast members' claims. Like,
Yeah.
and more
Ay,
likely
ay,
than not
ay.
happened, but they're going to do whatever they can to protect him, and that
Yep.
is,
That's
well,
on being the face of the network for
yeah,
20 years now.
yep,
Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here. Like we said, we did a fun Patreon episode. Well, fun. It's an enlightening Patreon
yeah,
episode on Travis Barker's memoir yesterday, patreon.com/snarkbatepod. Don't forget, we're going on tour in 2026. We're so excited. We have the link to purchase tickets below. We're going to New York, LA, and Chicago. We hope to see you there. And what else? You know where to find us on Instagram at SnarkBaitPod. I'm at Soph_Ross. Christy is at Christy Noel __. Leave us a 5-star rating and review if you enjoyed this episode. Pretty please. And yeah, we're excited for 2026. We love you
yeah.
guys.
See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.